Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Not the Girl Next Door. I'm your host, Meg Reynolds, and today's guest is someone who, of course, I also found on the internet. Where else do I find my guests?
Where else?
And her page just caught my eye because I think she is exactly who I want to be when I'm in my 30s. She just embodies so much positivity, good vibes, and just seems like she really knows herself. And she, with her project Self Love, she even inspired me today to face one of my fears, which is doing content with no makeup on.
I love that.
I have mascara on, so sue me.
You look stunning. So
thank you. But we got natural hair going, no makeup except for mascara. She's inspired me to even face that fear of myself. So we've got Aubrey Gallione. Is it Gallione?
Gallione.
Gallione, of course.
Yeah.
Some people do. Of course, I love her, guys. She's Italian, but
right, 100%.
But we got her on the podcast, and funny enough, the video that I found her through on TikTok was literally just talking about the ways in which she's healed herself. And guys, Rocco's making an appearance. He's out to play. Talking about the ways in which she has healed herself and just, I just love you, which is just, I think, the sweetest thing. But I will let her introduce herself, her project, her vision, and we have a lot of things to yab about today.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Well, it's so nice to meet you. My name's Aubrey. I am the founder of Project Love You. It is a workshop that is centered around teaching people the importance of self-love and what it looks like to cultivate it in your everyday life.
Starting this project didn't start out of nowhere. Obviously, we probably got some trauma there, but we don't have to dive too much into that. But just how did this come to be? Because I think, I think that's like a lot of creators out of a dark time, they've created something so beautiful for themselves. So I'm sure you know the story.
Yeah, 1,000%. I would say that my why stems from a couple of things. I lost someone close to me to suicide about 7 years ago. She was like a little sister to me. So she really inspired me to put my foot on the gas with this project, but also just stems from a place of grief, heartbreak, really losing myself in romantic and personal relationships. And it just forced me to turn inward and really change the narrative in my brain about what it means to value myself. So yeah, I would say it definitely was created out of, a time that I was, down bad. And I'm really fortunate to be able to have made it out on the other side of those experiences. So all I do in life now is trying to share that testimony with other people in hopes that, it resonates with one person and I can help someone take that first step in their journey.
The narratives we tell ourselves is really so important. I think it sounds cliche and people roll their eyes of oh, what you speak into existence is.
No, it's so true.
But it's so true. And I think we are, one of the beauties of social media, one of the positives of all the negatives is this, community that people are able to build and connecting and relatability and all of these things. And I always say, if my pain can help one other person navigate theirs, then it's completely worth everything I've been through. And I'm sure you feel like that.
Yeah, I fully agree to that. If my experiences can help one person, that's enough for me. And that's why I'm such a yapper. And I always say I'm an open book, but it's I overshare in hopes that I can help other people. And yes. I've always been like that. But now more than ever, like I said, once I made it out on the other side and I pulled myself out of a really dark place, all I want to do is help other people, especially women, do the same.
I think oversharing is honestly one of my love languages.
It really is. Tell me too much, honestly.
That's how I feel. I'm but then I have to remind myself that, not
everybody thinks like that, right?
Not everybody thinks like that. But so with your healing and, you talked about you've lost yourself so many time again, relationships, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Yeah. But what has, your journey of self-love and accountability, how has that kind of impacted your dating life and taught you about love in general? I know you've talked a lot about this on your page as well.
Yeah. I think that for a really long time, I was so focused on being chosen, right? Mm-hmm. And I realized that as I got older, I get to be the one doing the choosing. Like once you start focusing on if people align with all the things that you desire out of a dynamic, the less weight you put on if someone else is picking you. It really truly does like raise the bar and change your standards. But yeah, I look back to the past versions of myself in romantic relationships, and I don't even recognize that girl anymore. I want to hug her, and I still love her, and she's still in there deep down, but I've completely transformed what it means to truly value my own like well-being and my own presence in my life. And once you do that, you'll stop spending time with people who don't see it the same way. But it took me a really long time to get here, right? And I, by no means, I say this all the time, like I don't have the blueprint. I don't have all the answers. I just have the things that worked for me. And again, I share them in hopes that, I can help someone else. But yeah, it's been a really tough journey. I think the hardest part about self-love that people don't realize is it forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you've been so conditioned to hate for so long. And it's uncomfortable. And that's why people choose to ignore it. When you choose to ignore it and not hold yourself accountable and really truly unpack how you contribute to the situations, the dynamics, the relationships that you experience, the more you'll repeat the same cycles over and over again. Yeah. So it wasn't until I truly like looked at myself in the mirror and asked myself, okay, Aubrey, like, how did I get here? Right? Like I got to a place where I was screaming, crying, throwing up, like got my heart broken so incredibly bad. And all I wanted to do was point the finger, right? Like that man is not shit. Like he really did a laundry list of foul things to me. And don't get me wrong, like that's still true. However, how did I contribute to getting to the position that I'm in? Unfortunately, the painful part was I unintentionally taught that man how to treat me. Yes. So unless I change the way that I'm moving, I will continue to love the same man in different bodies. And that's what I was doing for a really long time in different cycles. It was so much easier for me to point the finger and blame everybody else until I finally looked myself in the mirror and said, okay, like something's got to fucking give. Like something has to change. What you're doing is not working. And if you continue on this destructive path, it will lead you to even lower spaces than you're already at now,
I am so glad that you're saying that, because that is quite literally the reason I started the podcast. And I had that guy of that. And I realized it was the same man in a different font. And I had to kind of hold myself accountable and be like, well, if it wasn't going to be him, it was going to be somebody else, because I fucking hated myself. Right. And I've gotten to a point, I think, in my healing journey, because I'm only a few years in, where now I'm feeling a lot of like the anger stage in healing. And I'm sure you went through this as well. Where like, it's not even just the anger outwardly at the people who did you dirty. It's the anger with yourself. I can't believe I let people treat me like this. And I can't believe, the shame. And like, it's, but I'm learning now to forgive that younger version of myself, because I was 21. What the fuck did I know about love? I didn't know shit about love. You were doing the best you could with the knowledge that you had at the time. And with the examples I grew up with.
1,000%. And I think, like you said, I have always been so quick to forgive other people in this life. That's never been an issue for me. But the hardest part about healing and self-love is learning to forgive yourself. So easy for me to forgive other people, but that shame and that guilt that you carry from those past versions of yourself that allowed other people to treat you poorly, oh shit, that gets heavy. It gets heavy, and you have to release it, and you have to learn to give yourself grace in that regard, for sure.
And it's really uncomfortable, because then there comes the questions of like, well, why did I let them? Why do I feel this way about myself? Like what? Because you always hear the phrase of like, well, what's wrong with me? And it's like, well, no, there's nothing wrong with you per se. It's there's parts of yourself that are hurting, and it's not really a wrong thing. And I think that's where people maybe struggle with healing too, is because, it's, again, easy to point the finger. It's easy to therapize and therapy speak away, oh, they gaslit me. They're a narcissist. They're this, they're that. But actually understanding your own shit and digging through the trenches of that and getting real with yourself is so uncomfortable.
So
And
uncomfortable.
I'm sure that you can relate to that and you've been through that, but what is, and I'm sure you had your moments where you were like, okay, I can't do this. Like, I want to like stop, pump the brakes. Like what do you say to people who are in those stages of healing and self-love and acceptance, and they're struggling really hard with that?
I think it's really important to remember that the brain and the body seeks comfort in something that's familiar and routine. So a lot of people get stuck in this space of just what feels comfortable because it's what they're used to. So anytime you're trying to break a habit, which that includes dating bad people, you know what I mean? Or sitting in spaces professionally, personally that don't serve you, it's change, right? And change automatically feels uncomfortable to the body. So what I try to tell people is the longer you can fight that feeling of discomfort and just sit in it and feel through it and allow yourself to understand that these feelings are simply just visitors and they're meant to pass through. And instead of rejecting them, sit in that discomfort so you can make it out on the other side. You just have to believe that there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. And I know it's so much easier said than done. And when you're in the thick of it and you're feeling this like crippling, heartache, pain, whatever it may be, like you have to remind yourself that nothing like feeling wise lasts forever. That discomfort will not stay forever. But if you can sit with it long enough, I promise that there will always be growth on the other side of it.
We see a lot of nowadays too, on the flip side, where people I think are almost, again, with the accountability, it's hard. And I think there comes a fine line where I'm protecting my peace versus I'm going to hold myself accountable.
Right.
And I think we're really seeing that nowadays in the ways in which people are struggling to have genuine friendships and find community, because everyone wants a village, but they don't always want to be a villager, I say.
Right.
And so what are your thoughts on where we draw the line of self-accountability versus I'm just protecting my peace and I'm taking a step back? Like, how do you think someone can learn to call themselves out in a way?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the not everybody wants to be a villager. But it's tough. I think that a lot of the times people will run from that discomfort, right? So instead of facing it head on, they'll sprint in the opposite direction and they'll avoid that accountability because it feels safer. It feels easier. But just because you're running from the feeling doesn't mean that it doesn't still exist, and it will still continue to exist. But yeah, self-accountability is extremely hard, but I think that it stems from a place of discipline, right? It stems from holding yourself to a higher standard. Once you raise your own standards, like you'll change the lens in which you view life completely. And that includes your, personal relationships. It includes romantic relationships. It includes your career, professionalism, all of these things. Like once you're willing to raise the bar, you can't see it any other way. But I think it takes time. It takes time and it takes grace. And I think that's the hardest part about holding yourself accountable. It's finding the balance between holding yourself to a higher standard, but also giving yourself grace and empathy when you do like make those mistakes, but being able to sit with that discomfort. Like I will say it till I'm blue in the face. Like you have to be able to be uncomfortable if you want to grow.
And something else too with the standards conversation, I think we see this a lot where people will set expectations and standards for others. And in the same regard, they don't hold themselves to those same standards, especially when it comes to dating and relationships. Like all the time you see that. And that's not just a men versus women thing. That's like in general, people, I want this in a partner, I want them to make this much money or look like this, do whatever, these hobbies. It's like, well, are you even somebody who that kind of partner would want to be with? And that's another hard conversation to have too, is like, everyone is worthy of love, of course. And I believe there's somebody out there for everyone, but like, are you even working on yourself in the way that will attract the kind of partner, the ideal partner that you want?
Right. It's a tough conversation to have. I think that there is plenty of women that have, the laundry list of checked boxes of what they desire from a relationship. But until I think you truly internally reflect and ask yourself what you bring to the table, like, again, that is how you meet a partner, right? There's a difference between having a significant other and like truly having a partner. And a lot of people, specifically women, they want partners in this lifetime, especially if you're a woman who has it all figured out for yourself, right? Like I always say that I am high maintenance, but it's because I'm the one maintaining the maintenance. So it doesn't bother me. I'm not asking someone to do all of these things that I already do for myself. Like if you can't add value to my life the way that I already do, what is the purpose of us engaging in a relationship? You know what I mean?
No, I absolutely understand what you mean. And like, for some reason, that mindset has been misconstrued into a negative thing. And like, we're seeing the rise of like, bring back traditional relationships and like traditional love. And it's like, well, actuality, I think this should lead to more meaningful relationships because people aren't having to settle. They're able to choose their partners based on commonality and like true desire to be partners instead of just, well, I need someone to put a roof over my head and pay my bills and I need someone who's going to take care of the kids. Like, I don't understand why that's not the mindset.
I think that there's a misconception specifically with women, right? We're taught our entire life. And if you unpack it from like a societal standpoint, like we were taught as little girls, we were conditioned to believe that we should be searching for our other half, for our like Prince Charming, to someone to put the, the glass slipper on to complete our lives.
Disney lied to us.
When in reality, you should be searching for someone who's already whole on their own because you should be already whole. So it shouldn't be me being 50% out here searching for my 50%. I should be 100. You should be 100. So then guess what? We have 200 together. So we have overflow. But there's this misconception that you're supposed to find someone to complete you when I don't move that way. And I don't think that any woman should move that way because what happens is you become codependent on someone to fill that other 50%. So what happens when they leave? What do? You're missing 50%, right? And that's a hard percentage to make up of. So I always tell myself, and I say this to women all the time, there is nothing wrong with wanting partnership and wanting a relationship, wanting a marriage, all those things. Go get it. We are wired to love and be loved, but I don't need it to survive. That is my thing. I want a partner. I don't need a partner. Those are two different things. You feel me?
Oh, 1000%. And like, I always say that's exactly the mindset I have. And I always say, I'm so thankful I learned that when I was 21, instead of, wasting, like, I don't know how many crash outs I would have been able to handle in my 20s over a crusty ass man. I don't know.
Your 20s are made for crash outs. So like you learn a lot for them.
I've had my fair share of crash outs, especially on this. I just crashed out a couple weeks ago because my ex sent me an email and like that is diabolical behavior. But I'm like, is this frontal lobe development or like crash outs kind of boring? I'm like, I am busy. I have too many other things going for me. Like, I don't need to be crashing out over a man who's like going to accuse me of being a gold digger, but I make more than him. Like, because
there's no gold to dig, baby. Where's that?
What was in the 1800s when like all the gold miners were like migrating west and west because there was no more gold left? I feel like that's what they're doing.
Right. That's always my favorite. It's always the men that want to accuse women of, clout chasing and gold digging, but it's like, you don't have anything for me to dig anyway. So what are you so bothered by?
I will never forget the one time this is the guy that inspired the podcast. I was 21 when I dated him. We went for Chinese food. And you know how when you order Chinese food, like you get a little bit of this, you get a little bit of that, you'll have a little bit of leftovers.
Yeah.
So I ordered, what did I get? I got like sesame chicken and broccoli and a little bit of like lo mein for us to share, right? This man had the audacity to accuse me of using him for his money and like flipped out on me that I had leftovers. I was like, it's Chinese. I was like, I will gladly give you the $15 for this Chinese food. And also like,
that's not
you
it.
live at home and I have my own apartment.
Right.
What am I gold digging for?
Right.
Like, but again, looking back now, I feel sad for myself that I let myself be treated that way, but I also just feel sad for him because very clearly that's a projection. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't recognize how when someone is like, oh, well, I don't like them, or they just have something nasty to say, it's usually a projection because that person either is doing something that they want to do and they're jealous, or they remind themselves of a part of themselves that they either don't like or are not ready to like fully embrace yet.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. The sooner you realize that everybody in this lifetime is simply just a walking projection of their own experiences, the sooner that you will find true happiness. You have to take things with a grain of salt. Everything is a projection of what someone else has already experienced in this life. So I definitely agree to that.
You talked about in a video, I want to say a couple days ago, talking about consideration. Friendships and relationships, and you really had just such a good take on it. And so I kind of wanted you to share your thoughts on what it actually means to be considerate of people, because I think people conflate what that is, and that's a key part in having lasting relationships.
Right. So I stem from a family that has a really good solid foundation of what like marriage and relationships are. I'm very fortunate. My dad's parents were married for over 65 years. My parents are still married to this day, over 40 years. So I have a good baseline understanding of what it means to love and be loved. And I owe those relationships in my life to how I have started to move differently when it comes to the standard, when it comes to dating. Like I think of the relationships I have with my girlfriends, with my older sister, like they love me down bad, like unconditionally. Like for me, the highest form of love will always be consideration. And that's how I love people. So why would I not hold the same standard to a partner? For me, it's like consideration is like the quiet way that someone says, I'm thinking about you. Like say you're going to the grocery store and you're walking down a food aisle. You came to get something super specific, but you walked past an item that you knew that your partner would love that, or that's like their, you know, that's their favorite treat. I would pick it up without even asking and just bring it home just to bring it home. Like that is consideration, because I don't need to call and ask, hey, do you want this? It's just knowing that that would make them happy. And then going out of your way to just add that into your, you know, everyday walk of life. You go get gas, you come back with candy without asking, or their favorite drink or whatever it may be. That's how I love everyone in my life, my female friendships, my family members. Like I say this all the time, but my female friendships truly saved me. Like they saved my life. And that also includes my best friend who is a gay man. He doesn't get the mail card. Like that is my sister. But like, yeah, I would not be where I am today. And I would not have this standard of love if it wasn't for the people closest to me in my life that forced me to see it a different way, and that loved me unconditionally. So I know that those relationships exist. I know that someone can love me because I see love in so many different aspects of my life already. Why would I settle for anything less? You know what I mean?
I literally feel so seen by you right now, because that is exactly how I love people. And like, prime example, I started seeing somebody recently who I've known him for 6 years, and like, it's just come out of left field. No one is more surprised than him and I, because we're like, wait, what's happening here? But it's because we lost touch for a couple years. He's become a person who I'm like incredibly proud of. And so we're getting to know each other and navigating this relationship. We're not dating, but like we're just seeing where it goes. He's back in New York. Okay. His birthday's coming up, and I was like, oh, by the way, like look out in the mail for just a little something. And I could tell it made him so uncomfortable, but it's because he's never been considered in relationships before. And it's like,
sad. It makes it kind of sad.
And I'm such a birthdays person. I'm
a celebration.
Celebration girly.
Yeah, excuse me. Celebrate the people I love. I'm taking it every single time.
Every single time. Like if I can throw a party, have people over, like I always will do dinners at my apartment. Like I'll invite like 15, 20 friends, and I will just cook them dinner. And like, it's like, because Sunday dinner, it was an Italian thing. Like that was my Sunday growing up, and I miss that. But it just makes me sad, because like, again, to you and I, it's like a no-brainer. Like, what do you mean? But to other people, like it makes me sad that they haven't had that type of consideration and love. And like, that is so true. It is my love language, is just being considerate of others. And it makes sense in my brain. And for the longest time, I couldn't understand why other people's brains didn't work like that. And I would take it personally. But now I realize, it has nothing to do with me. And same regard to you. When I finally found friends who see me and understand me and love me unconditionally, it's raised the bar for every other relationship in my life. And I've been cutting people out left and right, because I'm like, I know what I deserve, and I know the love I give you. I'm taking that energy back now. Like,
Yeah.
I'll meet you where you're at, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to go overboard anymore.
Yeah. You know what? I think a lot to my past relationship because it taught me so much about myself and about the way that I love other people. Something that was really painful to come to terms with that relationship ending is I realized that that man never loved me. He loved the way that I loved him. He loved the way that my love felt. And that was something that gutted me once I came to terms with that. But I just realized, like you said, some people just never experience what it truly means to be loved in a relationship, like wholeheartedly. And I showed up and I gave him that. And I just think that he knew deep down that I was not it for him, but he stayed for so long because he loved the way that I loved him. Like every aspect of my love, like elevated him in every way, shape, or form. So it was so much harder for him, I think, to cut ties with me because I made him a better person. And I think that's what love does, right? It makes you a better version of you. It makes you feel seen. It makes you feel valued, understood. And once you realize that not everybody experiences that kind of love in their lifetime, one, it makes you sad, but also it makes you practice discernment a little bit differently. Yes. But I don't regret that love that I gave to that man or any other man, woman for that matter. You know, they needed to feel that love. But for me, I had such a hard time. Like I'm a Scorpio, so I had such a hard time.
I'm a Scorpio.
Are you? Oh God, this makes so much more sense now.
Now it makes sense why I'm like, I feel like we're the same person.
Yeah, no,
I feel so seen by her.
Makes a lot more sense. I have a really hard time like moving on and letting go. Like I hold on. There's teeth.
I like to collect people and collect friends.
Like I
got joy in my life by like by helping other people fix their problems and stuff.
Yeah,
like
you're a healer. You're a healer.
You get it.
We get it. I get you. Trust me. And I don't feel the need to have any sort of like spite or revenge in that regard, because I just really truly believe the people that I've experienced that love with, like they needed that love. So I don't regret giving it to them. I think it definitely does make me practice discernment a little bit differently now moving forward and who I, opt to give that love to. But I don't regret it. And I'm not going to love people less just because someone else can't, meet that same standard or has, hurt me in the past. So yeah, I don't know. That last relationship definitely did a number on me, but it taught me so much about myself and the way that my love is special, right? I hold on to things for so long and I think like, oh my God, I'm never going to get past this. That person was so special. And then I woke up and realized that what was special about our relationship was the way that I loved them. It was me. Yeah. It was the way that I was loving him. That is what was special. And once you can figure that out, it makes it way easier for you to move on and potentially, grow something with someone else who's capable of giving you that same love in return.
Yep. You're speaking my language. Like, it's so easy. I think everybody, man or woman, you're going to have that one relationship that just does you dirty, traumatizes you a little bit, and like forces you to confront a lot of things in yourself. Yes. Maybe not all of us, but I think the majority of people will have that relationship. For me, again, it was the ex that made me go back to therapy and start this podcast. And something that will always stick with me for the rest of my life is when we broke up for the final time, because of course we had many breakups. It was toxic as fuck. He said to me, this was one of the only times he broke up with me. He was like, I realized I don't love you. I'm just doing what I have to do to keep you around. And he said the quiet part out loud there. And that will stick. Of all the things that he said and did, that is one of the most hurtful, because not only did I realize like he didn't care about the pain he caused me, it just made me realize again, like you said, he loved how I made him feel. Yeah. And I also kind of realized like, as much as I was trying to push him in life, like, and I was loving a version of him that didn't really exist, because he sold me a false narrative of who he was and who he wanted to be. Yeah. And that's the version I fell in love with. And I say the same about him, as I think he fell in love with somebody who, the version of me that he wanted me to be. And those were just two people that were never real. And and it would have been so easy for a long time. I was jaded after that. And it would be so easy for me to stay in that, like, fuck all men. I hate men. But I was like, I always say, like, if I loved the wrong person so much, because obviously I had to have loved him to put up with that treatment. If I loved the wrong man so much, imagine how much I'm going to love the right man and how much he's going to love me back. And when you get to that place in your healing too, it makes it easier to move on. Like, you don't have to, hate him. And I don't even hate him. I wish I could say I hated him, but it's just, that's wasted energy to me. Same. I'm just indifferent about him now. And I think that is like the most peaceful place.
No, it's a powerful place to be. I think about a lot when it comes to like my past relationship, because you're right. I don't hate him. I wish I could hate him based off the way that he made me feel, but I can't carry that. It gets way too heavy. But for a really long time, I was so like, I want to say I was very in love with him, but I'm going to use the word infatuated. I was so infatuated with him because I thought that he was making me the best version of myself. And that's why I was so attached to him. But the more removed I became, the more I realized that he wasn't making me the best version of myself. He was making me the version of myself that he benefited from the most. And that, again, hurt me very badly to figure out once I could see it on the other side. But I learned a lot, right? That man learned what it meant to be like loved unconditionally. And I learned what it meant to choose myself, to love myself. I didn't have that before. It's a really tough lesson to come to terms with, but I'm like almost 3 years removed and you see it just vastly different. But because I chose to look in the mirror and really truly unpack how I got to the place I got to is why I will never repeat that same cycle again. Like until you put that work in internally, you'll keep meeting the same men over and over and over again, and you will continue to hurt your feelings. So it's like, why not just stop and put the work in to heal so you're not carrying those past bricks from your past relationship to try to build a new house with someone else? Like it will never work. The foundation will never be strong enough to withstand like anything.
There was a version of you that he benefited from and the version of you that you needed to become. Right. And what would you say is some of the, like one of the biggest differences in those versions of yourself? And like, how do you think you've healed yourself in a way to find your way back if you ever get lost again? Right. Because it's inevitable we may lose ourselves.
No, that's a great question. I think the version of me that was my past self when I was with him was the version that, someone said jump and I said how high. Like I was willing to put on whatever hat I needed, fulfill any role I needed possibly to make that person stay. But the sooner you realize that it doesn't matter. I could have done everything right, and which I did do a lot of things correct in that relationship. I'm not perfect. I'm sure I definitely made mistakes. But I was willing to shapeshift into whatever version of myself that he needed me to be in my brain so that I thought that he would stay and he would never leave me. But that's not how it works. If someone is not for you, they will not remain in your life. So you can fight it as long as you want, but inevitably, like you're just prolonging that heartbreak. And that's what it was for me. This version that was willing to jump through hoops just to be loved. I was willing to go to very extensive heights to seek his validation in every aspect of my life. And now the version of me who is far more healed and removed from that relationship, I just realized that I'm allowed to chase the things that make me happy and to do the things that I'm good at because I love them, not because someone else needs me to do them for them. You know what I mean? Like I spent so much time building out this man's dreams in so many different facets that I lost sight of what made me happy and what I felt like my purpose was. And I'm so fortunate for the experience. And I always say like the greatest thing that man ever did for me was leave me, because I would have never left him. And I know that it sounds so sad, right? Like I want to punch that, like sometimes that past version of me in the head, but like, I loved that man, like 10 toes down. Like I would have never left him. So the best thing he could have done was leave me, because it forced me into a new version of myself. But if I was still in that relationship, I just feel like I would be a shell of a version of Aubrey. So I'm fortunate. Like I really do feel like pain and heartbreak is the best catalyst to propel you forward towards the thing that you want. Do they fucking suck? Absolutely. Does it hurt? Like, yeah, like you're talking to a girl who was like physically ill. Like I was so down bad that I was sick. Like I was making myself sick, lost so much weight, did the whole nine, sick to my stomach on a regular basis, screaming, crying, throwing up. Do not miss the throwing up part. Like I'm telling you, it existed. Like it truly did. But I'm so fortunate for that version of myself because I would not be sitting here today telling you all these things if I hadn't hit that rock bottom. Like truly.
Literally, I say the same thing about, so the guy I dated before my ex who started the podcast was my college ex. And same thing. I thought, like, if you asked 18-year-old Meg, who was dating that man, what her life would look like at 26, it would be, we'd be engaged, getting married by now. Maybe I would be pregnant with my first kid. Like, we would be living in New York or New Jersey. Like, I had my life mapped out with this man. And then he broke my heart. And like, I always say the best thing he ever did for me was break my heart because I wouldn't have moved to Nashville. I wouldn't have, taken that risk. I wouldn't have, this podcast wouldn't exist. Like I wouldn't be touring the way that I do now. Like my career, my life I would not be this version of myself. And I am able to laugh about it now because the woman I've become is a woman who would never be with him. And I don't say that in like a he sucks way. I just say we are so incompatible now that like, but again, I would have never become like, I would be a shell of myself too. And everybody in my life is like, yeah, he would have held you back in life. Like, oh, thanks guys. Who was going to tell me? Who's going to tell me that?
You really got to figure that shit out for yourself. Like,
you really do. Like,
I'm in a full support of your friends being like, look, sis, like that man is not it for you. Like always be honest with like your girlfriends or anybody in your life when you see them in a relationship that isn't serving them. But sometimes you simply have to figure it out for yourself. You have to go through the experience. You have to endure that pain to be able to let it like shape you into a better version of yourself. It sucks, but it's real.
It does. And like this man, literally, I ended up in the hospital because I had a cyst rupture because I was so heartbroken and stressed. But the cyst rupture saved my life. I would have like, had that cyst not ruptured, I could have, at best case scenario, I would have just lost the ovary. At worst case scenario, I could have like bled out internally. Like the heartbreak quite literally saved my life. Like that is, if that's not an act of God, I don't know what is, but psychotic. But as women, we suck at listening to our friends, and we can get all the advice in the world. We will not listen if we don't want to. And I think that can really lead into the conversation of what it actually means to be a girl's girl. Because something that I firmly believe is that a true good and best friend is going to hold you accountable and like say the really hard thing that needs to be said. They're going to call you out on your shitty behavior. They're going to call you out when you're, having a crash out, whatever the case is. But like, your good friends are going to tell you what you want to hear, and they're going to enable your bad behavior. And your best friends are going to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah, because you out of a place of love, right? I'm not going to enable poor behavior because I'm trying to protect you. Like, yes, I need you to walk life on your own. And like you said, sometimes we just have to learn the hard way. But if I'm recognizing a pattern here, I'm going to help try to break that pattern. I'm very much the tough love friend. Like I lead with love. Everything that I do will always be, the center of it will be love, but I am the tough love friend. Like I will tell you exactly what I feel like is necessary for you to be the best version of yourself. I will not hold your hand if you're making poor choices. I will, I promise, like, I think of all the girlfriends in my life who have shown up for me no matter what, like the same friend that you've said the same thing a million times over to that will just sit and listen. Like, yes, it's very important. It's very important to have those supportive people in your life, but are the people that you're surrounding yourself with, specifically your girlfriends, are they forcing you to be a better version of yourself? And if the answer is no, like those are not people that you want close to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a harsh reality. There's a lot of like yes men in this world, but I think when someone truly loves you and they want what's best for you, they will tell you the uncomfortable things. They'll do it with tact, of course, like truth. Again, moving from a place of love, but I don't want to sit by and watch you continue to hurt yourself. If I think that you can make better choices, I'm going to encourage the better choices. Period.
Absolutely. And it doesn't mean like, saying the honest thing is not an excuse for cruelty. Like you still have to say things in a kind, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
Also, I think sometimes too, people will, if they're in a place where they're not ready to face certain parts of themselves, they'll just accuse you of being unsupportive. And I've dealt with that. And it's hard.
We've all been there. We've all been there. So sometimes you just, again, you have to take shit with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Salt. What else do you think are ways, like maybe like, I don't want to say not known, but like, I guess like underrated parts of girl code. Cause obviously everyone knows you don't go hook up with your friend's ex. You don't text your friend's ex. Like, I think when people think of girl code, they think of things that simply have to do with like men and dating. But like, what else do you think it means to be a girl's girl? Because I know you had some great takes on this as well.
I mean, for me, a girl's girl, I feel like we've lost the plot of being a girl's girl a little bit right now. For me, being a girl's girl is simply just prioritizing female dynamics and connection over male validation or male perception of you. Like, I will always prioritize safe spaces for women, to empower them, to make them feel seen, to encourage them, to make them feel safe over the perception of what men think of me. Like, to me, that is what a girl's girl is. We experience very specific things in this life as girls and women. We all know that. Like, we have a unique experience. We view life through a specific lens. We're treated differently, and only women understand that. So it's being able to empathize with it's being able to empathize with other women and validate those experiences and creating just safe spaces. Like, this is the perfect example of a girl's girl for me. I was walking home the other night. I live in Chicago. I try not to walk by myself in certain areas when it's dark. That's just being a woman in general, right? And I'm walking home. It's getting dark. The sun's going down. And there was two or three girls that were walking probably like 50 to 100 feet in front of me. And I'm walking by myself. Now, there was a group of probably 5 to 6 men standing on the corner, harassing every single woman that walked past. Naturally, because, this is just the things that we endure. But like, doing the cat calling, saying like foul shit as they walked past. One of the girls saw me out of her peripheral vision. She turned around and she said, "Hey, where are you going?" I said, "I'm walking home." She said, "Do you want to walk with us?" And I said, "Yes, please." Because in that moment, I felt the tiniest bit more safe being in a group of women than it was me walking by myself. So you know what those girls did? They were walking, they had to walk in the opposite direction of where my apartment was. They walked me all the way home. They walked me all the way home because they knew that I was by myself. And like, in that moment, like, I just felt like that connection. That is a girl's girl. That is sisterhood. It's looking out for one another. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is what it means to be a girl's girl. It's looking out for one another. And they just wanted to make sure that I got home safe. And of course, as we walked past the group of men, they continued to shout like inappropriate things at us. But because the four of us were together, 3 of us were together, I felt that much more safe. So that's all it is. It's going into the bathroom at a bar and a girl being like, "Oh my God, you look so good." You know what I mean? Or "What lipstick are you wearing?" And instantly rattling off, the lip combo that you have. Like, it's just being and creating welcoming, safe spaces for women. That is what being a girl's girl is. It's not enabling like poor behavior for women or, excusing the mean girl aesthetic. I think people think to be a girl's girl, you just have to like every single woman that you come across. And that's not the case. Like, that's not what it means to be a girl's girl. It's about uplifting women who share that same vision of what sisterhood means to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, I think that's something, like, I'm so big on being a girl's girl and girl code. And like, I think that's something I've had a hard time with, is dealing with women who I would think are girls, but then they're still so male centered, and like male validation and male attention will always come above their girlfriends. And like, that is something, a big lesson I've learned this year is like, really, a girl who is so male centered, really, it can't be a true girl's girl in most ways, because a man is always going to come first.
Right. And I think it's important to acknowledge that you can seek out and want male connections in your life.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that you're not a girl's girl. However, I don't prioritize that validation from men or the perception of what men think of me over my connections with other women in my life.
Right. Like, if you're at a bar, I'll give this example because this is an actual experience I had. Like, if you're at a bar and you're talking to a guy and the guy's friend is being disgusting to your friends, making them uncomfortable, making sexual comments, and your friend comes up to you and is like, "I want to leave. Like, I'm really uncomfortable. This is creepy." you leave with your friend. You don't just say, oh, it's just a joke, relax, or like laugh with the guys. Like that's not being a girl's girl.
No.
And I've had to live through that. And like, it's a shitty feeling when like when a friend, you see them for who they are. And like, that's probably a journey that you've had as well with your healing, is recognizing certain friends just aren't as good of friends to you as you are to them. And they're your friend because they like how you make them feel. It's just the same as with dating.
Just literally same thing. I think now in your 30s, it's a little bit easier, or it's a little bit easier for me to spot. But I think back to my 20s, and even now, I will encounter women that will they'll just like use you. They'll use you for the way that you make them feel, or the rooms that they can get in, or, the men that you surround yourself with, or whatever it may be. And they'll pretend to be your friend, but it's not that they want to be your friend. They just want to reap the benefits of what it means to be close to you. And I just think that those are two separate things. But that's practicing discernment, the same way that we talked about practicing it in relationships is the same way you have to practice it in friendships. Like not everybody is going to be there for the right reasons. It's just being able to weed those people out.
Right. And when it comes to discernment, like I think people hear that word and they're like, well, what is that? What does it even mean? Like, how do I know if it's discernment and my intuition versus just like anxiety, or I'm telling myself a certain narrative? Like, how do you think people can differentiate? And like, what do you think are some of the biggest lessons?
Yeah, it's tough. I say this all the time to, some of my clients and anybody that is in my workshop, but you really have to unpack if it's your trauma misleading you or your intuition guiding you. Like those are very different, but sometimes they can feel the same, based on past relationships or friendships. You can be triggered by certain things, but nobody else is responsible for your triggers except for you. So you have to unpack why that person or that experience made you feel that way. And is it a trigger, or is it literally something that is like making your nervous system like go crazy? But it's tough. It's being able to really feel that discomfort and head on, and then unpack it with yourself and with that person. Like the true basis of any friendship and relationship is that ability to be vulnerable. It's that ability to have uncomfortable conversations. And I think that women discredit their intuition way too easily. Like if something in your gut is telling you that something is off with a person, a place, or a thing, I'm telling you 9 out of 10 times as a woman, our intuition is correct. Again, what I said to lead this conversation, like you have to figure out if it's your trauma misleading you or your intuition guiding you. That is a very crucial part of it. You can be triggered by past things, but there's something about the female intuition, and usually it is always pretty spot on. So if you have that gut feeling, listen to it. Otherwise, it will bite you in the ass if you choose to go in the opposite direction.
It's crazy too. Like, I mean, we as women, I think we've been taught to like, oh, we're just think about it, like the words that being are emotional. We're dramatic. Being emotional. We're being hysteric. We're dramatic. Like they literally used to lobotomize women for having like crazy emotions and hysteria. It was literally just them crying, like, and being postpartum depression. Like, and they like, so we've constantly been taught as women that like, we can't trust our feelings in ourselves. And I think that's why so many women struggle with the relationships with themselves and loving themselves, because from the time we're born, we're pretty much told you can't trust yourself and you need a man. Like, and that's just not the case.
It's honestly so sad, and a really like pivotal conversation for me when my ex looked me in the face and was like, he said something along the lines of, your ability to withstand emotional distress is far higher than anyone I've ever met.
You're like, they sound like a compliment, but it's really not
a compliment at all in any capacity. But I think it's very common for women, right? Like we're conditioned to hold a lot of emotional weight and hurt before we exit something or before we, move forward. And men are not wired that way. Like they cannot handle the distress emotionally that a lot of women can on a regular basis. What did I read? I read something the other day that it was like, a woman will have like the absolute most traumatic experience of their life, and they'll go to the grocery store and cook dinner and be, act like everything's fine. And a man's parents will get divorced at the age of 12, and he'll unleash the wrath on every single woman he meets for the rest of his life. Like something about that. Like,
no, literally, I made a joke about that once on the podcast. I was like, men will literally like use their high school ex who cheated on them
as an excuse to be a terrible person.
As a reason as to why they like can't date you and like why they're so traumatized. I'm like, literally cry me a river. Like my friend the other day, she was talking to me and about this guy we know, and he basically ran into like an old situationship of his, and he was like, it fucked me up for a week, and I was like, oh wow, to a situationship, he made it really clear she didn't want to be with you. Oh my god, like
I'm just like a lot of men don't learn emotional regulation. And I think that is a really crucial part of finding a partner now. And that's why dating is really tough for me, it's hard to find people that I feel like I'm compatible with, because a man who can't emotionally regulate his feelings will just add on to yours. You know what I mean? And like not being able to sit with yourself and truly feel through your feelings that you're going to feel on a regular basis. Like these are just like normal human experiences or emotions that happen on a daily basis. But instead we have conditioned men, and half of it's not their fault. Like I don't want to blame them fully, but we taught them from a young age, like not to feel, right? Not to express feelings. It means that they're weak. Like they just don't know how to be vulnerable, and they don't know how to regulate their emotions because that's all that they know. But at what point at your big ripe ass age do you look in the mirror and say like, okay, I'm going to unlearn these things that I were taught? It's not your fault that you were taught to live your life that way. But at what point do you hold yourself accountable and grow and be better?
Yeah, I literally am watching my dad deal with this. Like I posted a TikTok yesterday. So I've been in no contact with my dad for the last 7 months because he's an emotionally abusive alcoholic, and it has been most of my life. And like I realized why I was dating my ex, because I had daddy issues, the whole 9 yards. But I had sent him a letter a little over a month ago. And in the letter I said like, I empathize with you for the things that you've been through in your life and the abuses you've suffered. And I understand why you are the way that you are.
Right.
And you're not responsible for that. But what you are responsible for is the pain you continue to cause me and cause to others, and the way you continue to destroy your own life. Those things you are responsible at the ripe age of fucking 50 something. And I got a response from him yesterday. And response, a little over a month later, I got the letter, and it could not have been better. And I read part of it on TikTok where he was basically like, I am a pretender. And I said in my video, I was like, I think a lot of men can relate to this. And I hope a lot of men hear me when I say these things, because I think my dad is almost like going to be a mirror for the way a lot of men are going to be living their life, is having self-destructed and sabotaged their whole life. And he's like, I'm a pretender. I pretend to be this strong, tough guy, but like inside I'm still this little boy hiding under a sink trying to escape a beating. And like, and he admits, he's like, I don't know myself. And I think part of truly knowing oneself is knowing your emotions and knowing how to regulate your emotions. And I think society failed all of us in that way for a long time.
1,000%. I mean, you think of it, and I say this all the time in my workshops, but we have 12 plus years of required education in the United States of America, but not one single class that teaches you how to have a healthy relationship with your mind and your body. There's not one class that you're forced to go through that teaches you self-love. And I think it's become this like, taboo topic, but that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. I'm like, there's a void for it, and it's necessary, because if you don't love yourself, you'll spend the rest of your life seeking out that validation from other people instead of turning and finding it from within. And it's such a dangerous path to lead. Like it really does make me sad.
And so for people, obviously, I know you've done events before in Chicago. Like, can you kind of talk about what it's like to take one of your workshops, what people can expect from it, if they have to be in the Chicago area to take one of your workshops?
I'm trying to, I will most certainly mark my words, I will branch out into other cities. I'm starting in Chicago. Obviously my roots are here, but I would love to be able to move to like New York, LA, Houston, there you go. Any of the major cities. My family is there, so I should. But yeah, the workshop is really just about creating spaces for people to connect deeper to themselves and to watch other people and be witness to other people doing the same. So it's connection to self and also connection to those around you. It's just really about creating vulnerable, open, honest spaces for people to see themselves and know that they're enough exactly the way that they are. There are a series of, discussions. I do some breakout sessions. I do, some activities. I do a mirror exercise that's been like super popular that I really love. But yeah, so I'm trying. I just put my foot on the gas. Like we're building. We're in the beginning phases of everything, and I'm really just trying to execute this vision that I have in my head. But it's been a wild ride so far, but I'm so fortunate to be stressed out about pursuing the one thing that I know that I'm meant to be doing. And that's empowering other people and teaching people the power of self-love and how to achieve that in their life. But I only can do that because I lived through it myself. It's a learned experience. I had a lot of doubt at the beginning, like, why would anybody? I had this conversation with my dad and he was like, Aubrey, you don't need a piece of paper. You don't need a degree. Like, what better experience than lived experience? Like, why not you? Because I kept saying, like, why me? Like, why would people listen to me? And he's like, why not you? You lived it and you made it out on the other side. Now go and share all these things that you have, learned with other people. So yeah, that's what the workshop is. It's really just about creating, safe spaces for people to show up exactly as they are and feel seen and feel heard and feel enough.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, I can't wait for the day that you branch out to other cities. Hopefully Nashville is one of them because I will absolutely attend a workshop. But also, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah. So, I'm on TikTok. My @ is the same across the board. So my Instagram and my TikTok is @AubsGal, AUBSGALL. But my @ for my business is @Project Love You, like the letter U. And then there's an underscore at the end because someone took Project Love You, which I can't find the account, which is annoying me, but it's fine. So Project Love You, like the letter U, and then an underscore. I use the letter U because, and tell me if you thought of this when you saw like Project Love You. I thought of the letter U as in like university, like self-love university. Does that make sense? Did that come up?
No, that makes, I feel like people use that all the time.
Okay. All right. As long as
it's like you as in you, but I love the like,
yes, like the double meaning. That's what it was. It's like self, like Project Love You as in like you, self, and then also like you, like you're coming to learn at like a university. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I'm so glad we were finally able to make this happen. It's been a little bit crazy, but I will ask you one final question. Like, what do you think is the biggest thing you've learned about yourself that you hope people can also learn about themselves in the process of their healing journeys?
Ooh. Mostly that like you are enough as is. Like it's okay to want to grow and change and better things, about yourself, but you are worthy of love exactly how you are right in this moment. You don't have to change to be, worthy of love. And that was something that took me a really long time to figure out. And I know for women, it's always like, oh, maybe if I lose 5 more pounds, or maybe if I dye my hair this color, like, we're always seeking that change to feel like we're enough. But I just want people to remember that you are simply enough exactly the way that you are.
Exactly. And like, you can still love yourself while seeking to better yourself. Like you don't have to hate yourself in order to be on a self-love journey.
Yeah,
like
you cannot hate yourself into a version of you that you love. And I will stand on that.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have said it better myself, but thank you for joining me on this episode. I can't wait for people to listen to this. And if you guys are not already following Aubrey, make sure you give her a follow. Check out all of her amazing content. She is just such a badass. And obviously she's Scorpio. That's why we got along.
You're right.
And if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, don't know why you wouldn't be, but we are at Not Next Door Podcast. You can find us wherever we're at. We're also on YouTube now. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Bye for now. Stop button.